Very good morning, and I hope you're fine wherever you are. The 23rd day of the year 2024. I hope the day has started very well, and welcome to this special program of every Tuesday. The program is called the Legal Tuesday, and here we talk legal matters. If you want to be enlightened on various matters legal, we are here for you, and therefore don't go too far. We are going to ensure that you are well sharpened on the legal matters. My name is Paul Kage. Today, as usual, I have my colleague Mangi Chomola, who is here today, and today we are talking about the Kenya business laws. If you are a businessman there, today we want to talk about business laws on this land. If you have any question to us regarding on opening a business in Kenya, our SMS number as usual 23814, but we also have an SMS number 0721 105 and 105. And today we have a guest who is going to help us to put more light on this matter, Mr. Ayuka Undieki, who is an advocate. We're going to give a chance to be able to introduce himself better than that. But for now, Mangi Chomola, how are you? Good morning.
Very good morning to you, Kagi, and of course it's good to see you again. Hope you're having a great week.
Yes.
Yeah, and indeed I'm also fine and absolutely ready for this yet another edition of the Legal Tuesday, where we look into matters the law, because we believe that this is a very important area. And anytime maybe a Kenyan wants to get involved in quite a number of issues, in one way or another they will be affected as far as legal matters are concerned. And this is actually a very important area, Kagi, that we'll be focusing on, because we know so many of our people, so many of our citizens are into various business endeavors, and it is important to enlighten them. It is important to make them be in a position to know what are some of the legal aspects and legal factors that are key and crucial for them to be aware of, so that they don't end up maybe losing some of their businesses, or actually even being involved in some penalties that maybe would have been avoided if they knew the legal measures that they are supposed to take in as far as their business ventures is concerned. So we're looking forward to a very captivating discussion ahead.
Yes, and I'm wondering whether, Mangicho, you have ever been a business person. Today we are going to see how you did that business.
Exactly.
Personally, I have been a business person.
Yes.
We'll be following it up to see how you can be able to run the business well without loggerheads with the government or county fraternity.
Absolutely.
And today we are asking one question, dear viewer. What's your take on business environment in Kenya? What is your take on business environment in Kenya? You can text us on 23814. 0721 105 105 is our WhatsApp SMS number. And before we go to the guest, Mangicho,
yes,
it's good to say that it's prudent for every Kenyan to run a business legally. And you know that there are many businesses which are not legal, others are legal. And today we are going to see maybe what are legal businesses and what are illegal businesses. Sure. But if you are running a legal business, it's good to be able to follow law, whether it is via county or the national government. Right. Because what I understand from where I am standing is that we have different kind of licenses from the county level and from national level. It's you to understand the level of your business to know whether you qualify to take maybe a license from the national category or maybe from the county category. But the most important thing is good to run your business in a legal foundation.
That is absolutely true, Kagi, because failure to do that is basically means that you'll find yourself in the wrong side of the law, and for maybe one reason or another, even some people maybe who have found themselves acting in an illegal manner. They've had maybe their businesses actually being brought down or actually being stopped, and of course they've suffered a lot. And I think doing it the legal way, it is also even actually good, and it's for the business person's benefit, because it basically basically means that you're following the right procedures, and it also gives you an opportunity even to ensure that even those that you want to actually come to your business, they can also be sure that whatever it is that you're doing is legitimate, and also it is something that is actually in line with what the government requires. So it is very, very important for people to know the importance of making sure that whatever it is that they're doing is legitimate and in line with the laws of the land.
Very well. And at this juncture, we want to welcome our guest in the studios today, Mr. Ayuka Ondeki. Welcome to MBCI TV. Good morning.
Thank you.
How are you?
Thank you.
Good morning to you.
Thank you.
It's good to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome to MBCI TV, the Legal Tuesday.
Yes.
It's a program basically which helps us to be able to put more light on legal matters.
Yes.
And today we are talking about the business laws or Kenya business laws. Before we get there, maybe for a viewer who would like to know you more,
Yes.
maybe who is Ayuka Ondeki?
Well. Ayuka Ondeki is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. I've been in Nakuru since the 2nd of August, 1992.
1992?
Yes.
More than 2 decades.
Yeah, more than 2 decades.
Yeah.
I initially worked with the Kenya Farmers Association as a legal officer. I started practice around 1997-98, and I've been in what we call the legal juakali sector.
Oh, there's legal juakali sector. Which is that?
Private legal practice.
Oh, okay.
Yes, offering services to wananchi in various sectors, mostly in commercial and the civil litigation, not so much in the criminal law area. I was up to about 2015 in Midtown here.
Okay.
I did some work in Nairobi for 4 years, and I'm now back in town.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Maybe before we go to the topic of the day,
Yes.
Your experience has spanned to maybe 2 decades.
Yes.
What is more than,
More than
maybe what can you tell us? What is troubling many Kenyans that, depending on the cases that are coming in our courts, what is troubling many Kenyans?
The biggest problem is that business law has developed in a way that has introduced many regulations, many laws that you need to obey. And just as we tell people that it is cheaper to obey regulations and laws than to correct yourself once you've been caught on the wrong side of the law, the problem has been that plethora of laws, all those laws that are coming up, most people are not very aware of what happens. I'll give you a very simple example of my experience. I was in Naivasha court once,
yes,
and somebody who is, let me call him a businessman, transports chicken, was caught transporting chicken hanging on a motorbike. So he was brought to court and charged with cruelty to animals. He thought it's a simple thing, so he said, yes, I did it.
Yeah.
When he was told the fine is 60,000 plus, he could not understand the regulation.
How many months in jail?
Yeah, 6 months or 60,000. So he was surprised that cruelty to animals is such a serious thing, and it is something that he's supposed to have been obeying.
So ignorance is never defended.
You cannot defend yourself. It is the facts under the law, and the book is thrown at you.
The other day I saw a guy who was ferrying a goat on a tray on a motorbike.
Yes.
He could land himself in.
Those are the things we are talking about.
Yeah.
There are many regulations that are known. Location of abattoirs, slaughter of animals, all those are regulated matters. But most people decide and say, oh, my in-laws have come, you slaughter an animal there. You will never get arrested for it most of the time, but then it is in breach of the law.
Ah,
yes.
Thank you, and welcome back.
Thank you.
Now, I know there are many people who are watching us, and they are wondering, if I want to open a business in Kenya, I don't want to be in loggerheads with the law enforcers, maybe what is the basic requirement of opening a business in our republic?
I believe the basic requirements are common knowledge. Because somebody who decides to start a business started from the preparatory stage of perhaps looking for capital. After the capital, looking for rental space.
Yeah.
After getting the rental space, looking for the source of what he needs to sell. Where the law comes in respect of that person is in terms of licensing. What license does he need to have? Yeah. So the first requirement is after you have identified the business, you have gotten your premises, you've gotten your storage, you've stored your goods. The first requirement is that you ask yourself, is this a business that requires a license? What license does it require? The license most of us talk about is the single business permit. That is the beginning. That's where people begin, that the single business permit is my requirement. Once you have that, then there are requirements that you will think about in terms of the goods you are selling. If you are starting the business of selling cereals, of course, you are going to deal with only the quality of the seeds that you are selling. But if you are starting the business of a pharmaceutical store, there are other things that you will need. You will need your own personal qualifications. You have to be qualified as a pharmacist to do that business, or you have to have a licensed personal pharmacist inside your shop. Or if you are going to start a business that deals with fat products, these days you require a fat doctor that is qualified. So the requirements will be personal qualifications, licensing.
Yeah.
After you have done your background of capital and allocation. Yes.
Now, one more concern, Wakili.
Yes.
For example, I'm opening a business, for example, selling milk.
Yes.
And I feel I need to surplus milk with some other things like snacks or some small things.
Yes.
Do I need to take 2 licenses within one business?
You will take what we call the single business permit for the business. That is from the county government.
Yeah.
But then now that you are dealing in milk, you will need a license from the dairy board.
Yes.
The dairy board will have to certify that you are capable and you are allowed to handle milk. After dealing with the dairy board, if you are going to go into snacks, you are going to deal with, again, the county government in terms of food handling license. So already we are dealing with 3 things. You have your single business permit, you have your food handling authorization, certificates for all your people, you also have the dairy board. So depending on what is in your space, in your business space, you need various licenses.
Yeah.
Yes. And the various regulators come into play. Yes.
Yeah, and Kagi, that's a very important area that you've actually put, because we know we have different kinds of businesses, Wakili, that maybe most people would want actually to venture.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to these considerations, are they explicit in terms maybe of the laws that are required for one to actually put them into, or for one to actually factor them? And how far can maybe one be in a position to actually be in a position maybe to know them, even in terms of aspects like the location? Maybe you'll be told that for this particular business, this is the only kind of location that maybe one can put them.
Location will be a factor that could have been sorted out by the owner, if you are not the owner of the building, by the owner of the building with NEMA. Most of the time, if it's the street front, you are talking about a building that is already located and that has been allowed to open for business in that area. Of course, location matters in some of the products. You will notice that in Nakuru town right now, all hardwares are moving cement products to industrial area.
Yes.
That is not a new thing. It has been the law that you cannot sell cement in some locations within the CBD here. But then at some point, nobody was enforcing that.
Yes.
But when the county government came and people started getting uncomfortable with it, you've seen that all the major hardwares are now locating their cement stores in industrial area. That was the law from a very long time ago. So unless that product requires a particular location. Location is never a factor. The other aspects of the law are two. There are statutory laws. There are laws that are in acts of parliament, like the Dairy Board Act, when you are trying to deal with milk. That one you'll find it in the act. Then there are those that are in regulations. There are regulations that have been made as bylaws by the county government that it inherited from the municipality. So all those aspects are regulated and they're written somewhere. There is a reference you can have. You can be told, you go to the public health department, they will tell you your proposal to open a restaurant on this road, what you require to do. And they have a book there. They show you the regulations, they are gazetted, there are laws that require that they be obeyed.
Yeah. And even one more concern, Mangicho and Wakili. For example, I'm operating a business in Estate A within town.
Yes.
And I feel Estate A is not conducive for my business. I want to relocate to Estate B.
Yes.
For Estate A, I have paid license for that business.
Yes.
To shift to location B, the same business.
Yes.
By law, do I need to apply for another license, or I can shift using the same license?
You will shift with your license, except such regulations that require inspection. Like if you are running a butchery in Kano Street and you want to relocate it to London, for example, the public health people will require that they reissue you with that inspection, and they say that it is a proper place to do the business. Other than those aspects that require inspection of site and the storage facility, you can move your license within the town. You can relocate, but then you will have to do the inspection again.
Or maybe I can notify the county that I'm shifting my duka from this asset to the other one.
Yes. If, for example, you are doing a butcher and an eatery, you are moving with your people who have been in, who have their food license for the year, there is no problem with that. They will carry it on up to the end of the year because that's an individual examination done at the hospital. The person is certified as a food handler and they can move with that certification. But for the premises, like where you are going to place your meat, your kitchen and how it looks like, all those are things that you require that they be redone in the new location.
But then, when you're talking about those laws, like for example, we have the county laws or the county bylaws that maybe affect now those who are doing maybe different kinds of businesses within the particular counties that we have, who are responsible for coming with those bylaws, and at what point maybe do they is there a departure maybe from now the other national laws?
The history of these laws that are applicable in the county started from the local government system in the past. There used to be regulations made by the municipality, certified by the Minister for Local Government then, and then they become applicable. In Nakuru, you could think of what we call the parking spaces laws. The municipal council at that time had to identify the spaces, the roads that are applicable, and apply to the minister for approval and of the rate and the area. So that was the history. Now that we have county governments, the county governments are having county assemblies. The assemblies have capacity to make laws for the default functions, for the delivery of services in the default functions. If we were to take the example of the dairy sector, that's a default function. So if Nakuru County decides that they are going to make a law on vaccination of animals or something like that, it will be made here. There is, of course, a link to Senate and approval, but then the laws will be made here and conditioned for the specific county. transitional authority that started the county governments and the Ministry of Devolution as a system of assisting counties make laws. They benefit from the Kenya Law Reform Commission. They can even go direct to the Kenya Law Reform Commission and ask for assistance if they have a problem drafting. But most of it can be done at the county level here. The laws that we deal with from the National Assembly are applicable throughout the country. They usually relate to government policy, the overall policy. Like, again, if we were to go to dairy, if they're talking about vaccination, it will be in the Veterinary Act. But these ones here will have to domesticate it, make it applicable to the local conditions.
Mm-hmm. Actually, before Kagi comes in, which brings me to the other point, Wakili, what normally goes on, or what is normally considered when maybe you're also factoring or looking into maybe the amending of some of these laws? Maybe there were some laws that maybe used to function maybe some years ago, like 10 years, pertaining maybe to some businesses. Maybe they're not in operational today. Maybe there are those there are those maybe which were not there, but today they are in operational. In operation,
yes. Laws, if you look at the space in law reform from 2009 to where we are right now, there have been many changes in the law. They are all related to the new things that have come. Okay. Like knowledge used to be written in books. These days is in a screen, it is in a computer. These days you can have your entire book on a screen. So we have laws that are validating electronic signatures, like for use in land transfers and those kind of things. Once a law operates over the years, it is anticipated that at some point, this is the ideal, at some point there is a legislative impact assessment. The user, the county, or the national government assesses the use of the law and says that now, due to the new policies, this law has become moribund. It is not assisting us. So can we now change the law to be in line with our new policies, our new objectives, and the new things that we are doing? So that doesn't happen a lot in Kenya, because what happens is that we deal with the changes in law by default, in that we decide we need to change the way in which we dump garbage in Nakuru. We want to do this, we want it incinerated, for example. So we change the law and fits that. We say nothing about the condition of the other law that has become inoperable, because the conditions and the policy, the new policy that has come, does not allow it to operate. So law really and its changes is developmental. Whatever is developing in society requires regulation, and as it gets regulated, the law changes.
Okay, yes. All right. And let's talk about maybe the small business operations.
Yes.
What does the law say, or the requirements of law? Because we have many small-scale business people who have employed people.
Yes.
Maybe what does the law require if we employ someone, especially for the small-scale business people? What are the basic requirements to the someone that you're employing there?
Employment, the area of employment requires that this person has a contract. In practice, most of the time we don't have these people on a written contract, but it requires that they be on a written contract. Yearly, on the 1st of May, there's a Gazette notice that comes up, and Gazette wages for that cadre of people that are employed as shop assistants, house help, and that kind of a thing. We are mostly obeyed by getting in breach of it. We never obey those laws. Because you see, like right now, if I remember well, the minimum salary of a watchman should be 19,000, approaching 20,000. But if you ask all the people employed in that sector around here, they tell you that they get 9,000, 10,000 at best. Yes.
So that basically means that there is violation.
There's a lot of violation of law in terms of employment in the lower cadres, simply because of what I may call our conditions. Yeah. We are a very poor economy, a very low income. Most people are looking at a situation where if I don't take that 7,000, then I go hungry. So they will not come to the shop owner and tell him, no, the law says the minimum is 19,000.
Yeah, again on that, yes. For the small-scale business people, yes. Other requirements like maybe leave days, yes. Paying for their government remittances like NHIF, NSSF, does law say anything about that?
It is a whole provision. The NHIF Act that is now becoming the SHIF Act, and NSSF and all the acts that deal with employment already have a rate at which you are supposed to pay to remit for those workers. Leave days are also regulated. Sometimes they are a matter of contract. You may get that in the contract of employment, you are entitled to 24 days of leave, 21 days of leave, according to the contract you signed with your employer. But the law requires that it be 31. So some of those things are regulated by the individual contract, but they are in the statute. Yes.
Okay.
The labor laws since 2007 is very elaborate.
Okay, as we continue, maybe regarding the same, what about the other side of someone who is employed? Are there some regulations that this person who is employed in those small-scale business to be able to respect or to follow?
Employment is essentially regulated by the contract of employment. The expectation of the contract is that there is an understanding between the two parties on what you are expected to do on a day-to-day basis. Of course, the assumptions as to keeping the line of business and its secrets and whatever else happens in it, there are regulations that are internal to every business. But then it's a matter of contract between the employer and the employee. And the law that applies is the law of contract. And the rest of the things, most of the time, get regulated in a breach. That is like, if an employee steals, you start dealing now with the criminal law. Yes. Okay.
And before you continue, maybe when we come after break, we'll be talking about the different types of businesses in Kenya.
Yes.
And before we get there, just remind our audience that we are here on Legal Tuesday, the 23rd day of the year 2024, and I hope you are following us. And today we are asking you one question. What is your take on business environment in Kenya? What is your take on the business environment in Kenya? And I know when we talk about the business environment, you know what we're talking about, that where you're working, is the environment conducive, either from the county government or from the national government? So you can tell us what is your take on the business environment in Kenya. Our SMS number, we have two SMS number, 23814 for ordinary SMS, and also 0721 105 and 105, 0721 105 105. Today we are having Advocate of the High Court, Mr. Ayuka Ondieki, with my colleague Mangicho Mola, and later on we shall be talking about what are these common Kenyan business laws, because they are very different. If you want to understand them, then hook up with us today on the Legal Tuesday, and we are going to give you more details on that. And later on also we shall be talking about the types of business taxes. You know, as a business person, you have to pay taxes to the government or to the national government or county government. We shall be talking about all the taxes that you need to pay to the government. Otherwise, you find yourself in loggerheads with the Kenya Revenue Authority. And also, maybe we shall be talking about the registering of a business names, which is very, very common. You know, sometimes you want to register a business name, and when you get there, you are told, no, this name belongs to somebody else. So how do you register your business under your name? Some of the things shall be putting into perspective today on the Legal Tuesday. Otherwise, tell us, What is your take on the business environment in Kenya? What is your take on the business environment in Kenya? You can do that through our ordinary SMS number 23814-0721-105-105. Taking a short break. We'll be right back after this.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Welcome to Africa International University, where education meets transformation. At AIU, we don't just educate, we inspire and innovate, shaping Christ-centered leaders who will transform Africa and the world. Our academic programs cater to every ambition: certificates, diplomas, bachelor's, postgraduate, master's, and PhDs. Join our international community and embark on an exciting academic journey that goes beyond borders. We lead, we innovate, we inspire, because at AIU, we are more than a university. We are a family with a common goal of transforming the world. The time is now. Enroll in AIU and be a part of a university in the heart of Africa, with Africa on its heart. Africa International University, where dreams take flight and leaders are born.
Cause all my life you have been faithful.
You are invited for the New Beginnings prayer meeting at the Faith Harvest International Churches at Roy Sambo on TRM Drive inside the Word Mega Tent behind Jewel Complex. Hosted by...
Life is brimming with moments worth celebrating. The dreams we chase, the connections we cherish, the laughter that fills our hearts. These are the true treasures. But sometimes, the path to those moments can feel clouded by financial worries. What if you could invest in a future where chasing your dreams isn't just a desire, but a reality? With N-Wealth Capital, small steps lead to big possibilities. With N-Wealth Money Market Fund, you can secure your financial future for a better tomorrow. Meticulously crafted for growth, carefully managed for safety of your investments and growth, you can invest as little as 1,000 Kenyan shillings. Whether you yearn for the freedom to travel, the joy of owning a home, or the security of a comfortable retirement, we enable your dreams to reality. Sign up today through www.nwealth.co.ke/capital or call 0700-617-443 and secure a lifetime of financial well-being and dignity through N-Wealth. N-Wealth Capital Unit Trust Scheme is approved by CMA, which does not take responsibility for the financial soundness of the scheme. Prices of shares and income may fluctuate and the right to redeem shares may be suspended. N-Wealth Capital Limited is a subsidiary entity of N-Wealth Financial Services Limited with regulatory approvals to provide pensions, investments, and insurance services.
Niko na tongue twister inaenda hivi. Cheap jeep is cheap. Cheap jeep is cheap. Nataka useme mara 3 mbio mbio bila kustop. Twende. Jeep 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 is cheap. Jeep 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 is cheap. Jeep 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 is cheap.
What is that?
Jeep 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 is cheap. Jeep 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 is cheap. Jeep 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 is cheap. Nataka unispelie neno Christmas.
Christmas. E-X-T-A-S. E-X-T-A-S.
Hey, na hivi tu bwana umetoa wapi?
Wakati Yesu aliletewa zawadi, kuna hii zawadi ilikuwa inaitwa manemane. Manemane ilikuwa nini?
Manemane? Manemane haikuwa samaki.
Alamsiki ni kutoka saa 9 mpaka saa 11. Na binuru?
Binuru ni jioni wakati unaelekea kulala.
Saa ngapi hivi?
Saa 3 usiku hivi na kuendelea. Kirio, macho sina utu. Papa. Nicheka.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Right, welcome back to the Legal Tuesday. Today we are talking about the Kenya business laws, and today we are having Ayuka Ondieki, who is an advocate of the High Court, and today we are asking you, what's your take on the business environment in Kenya? But before we go too far, our colleague Vincent Kimutai was on the ground talking to the public on this question about business environment. So let's hear what they said.
Gava yetu inaegemea sana pale ya nini ya hongo, hawaangalii venye sisi wananchi wa kawaida tunaumia hapa chini. Alafu barabara zetu ni mbaya, watufanye nini? Watutengenezee barabara. Town kuna mashimo mingi. Sasa unashinda kila saa ni unaenda garage nini. Sasa pesa zenye unatengeneza hii kidogo, kwa sababu customer zetu kulingana na uchumi hawawezi lipa pesa mingi. Pesa ile tunalipa kidogo, unabidi tena unaenda kukaa nayo garage vitu vimepanda. Mafuta wamepandisha, unaona? Sasa hakuna venye tunasaidika sisi wananchi wa chini. Inabidi tunaumia kila siku.
Na nyinyi kama wafanyabiashara kuna pesa mnalipia kwa serikali ya county?
Sisi tunalipa 400 monthly. Ambapo tunaomba hata sasa natupunguzie hii pesa, ni mingi sana kulingana venye maisha iko saa hizi. Sisi wengine ni wazazi. Unaona, sasa unapata hii pesa tunapata kidogo, ukijidivide huku na huku unapata hiyo pesa haitoshi mahitaji ya mwananchi wa kawaida. Kama sisi wanabiashara wa chini tunaumia.
Sasa na ile wakati process ya kutafuta license ni kama
kuna hongo ndani ya maofisi. Sasa wanzi unaenda kuchukua vitu, unapata ukipanga laini huko paka huo unajuana na mtu fulani ndio ushughulikiwe haraka. Sasa ukiwa na doo unashughulikiwa haraka kuliko mtu mwenye hana doo, unacheki.
Changamoto ambazo kumbana nazo wakati ambapo ulikuwa ukifungua biashara yako kwa mara ya kwanza. Anza tuko majina.
Changamoto ya kwanza ilikuwa ni kutafuta space, kuweka kazi. Wakati mwingine pia unatarajia kufanya hiyo biashara, lakini unakuta zingine pia capital inakuwa ni shida. Kupata hiyo capital maybe kama unakwenda kukopa pesa, unakuta pia increment ya iko juu sana. So unakuta wakati mwingine inakuwa ni vigumu kuanzisha hiyo kwanza hiyo kazi. Sasa inakubidi saa zingine hivi una hook kabla ufike pale usimame, inakuwa na changamoto pale ndani. Pia zingine unakuta pia serikali unakuta katilo unalipa hizo taxes. Kulipa ndio yes, zingine wakati mwingine umeacha hizo receipt nyumbani, mara unaharasiwa, manguo zinabebwa. Inakuwa pia changamoto. Yeah.
Jo, umesema changamoto kuu ni ile harassment kutoka maybe kwa maafisa wa county.
Maafisa wa county wakati mwingine wanakuja kuna wakati wengine wanakuja na njia nzuri, wengine na njia nyingine ikiwa tofauti. Sasa unakuta wakati mwingine pia inatatanisha kama sio wafanya biashara.
Lakini kama biashara huo mnalipia ile
ndio tunalipia kila mwezi, na lazima upia ulifanya kazi bila zile ulipe hiyo ushuru ambao serikali inahitaji. Serikali ili uweze kushika wafanyabiashara wadogo, tungeomba waweze kutusupport. Wakati mwingine maybe kama ni hizo kutafuta hizo space, maybe unataka kufanya kuanzisha kazi, tungeomba serikali iliweze kutusaidia, serikali ya county iweze kutusaidia tuweze kukuza wao wafanyabiashara wadogo waweze kufanya kazi kwa usalama, na pia kuweza kulipwa kwa ile nguvu ya kulipa kodi.
Kwa sasa maisha imekuwa ngumu, gharama ya maisha imekuwa ngumu, vitu zimepanda, stima imeongezwa, manywele tunabai bei kali, kila kitu in general imekuwa juu sana. Pia license iko juu, sasa hata tunashindwa kulipa. juu, kazi sio mzuri sana, kila mtu analia maisha kuwa iko juu, hakuna pesa. Mwenye nyumba anataka rent, license ulipe, imekuwa changamoto sana. Ningesema wa reduce car license, at least ikue enye kila mtu anaweza lipa, as in hata nyama wafanya biashara wadogo wadogo anaweza afford kulipa.
Majina anaitwa Christina Mlega. Mimi ni mfanyakazi wa Sari. Naishi Jerika, but inakuwa changamoto kwangu. Sometimes naweza kuja kazini nipate client ama nikose client. Hapo niko na watoto wa shule.
Serikali inapaswa kuhakikisha kuwa wafanyabiashara wanakuwa na mazingira bora ya kufanikisha biashara yao. Je, wewe unafikiri serikali imefanikisha hilo?
Walisema lakini hawajatimiza. Walisema watatushughulikia kama wanabiashara wa chini, lakini tujashughulikiwa hadi sasa. Wito wangu kwa serikali ni watuangalie watu wa chini kama sisi ambao tunategemea kazi ya commission. Kozi leo utakuja upate na kesho ukose.
Sijui kama unafahamu sheria zinazowalinda wafanyakazi ama wafanyabiashara.
Sijajua bado.
Challenge yenye tuko nayo kwa biashara ni mingi. Sasa unaona kama sisi washonaji tunapata nguo zenye zinatoka nje zinakuwa cheap, hizo sisi tunashona. Onyesha sahi anaona beta aende nunue ile cheap ili asikuje kwa hiyo expensive. Watu wa biashara wadogo unaweza hata ukienda uchukue hata mkopo, unapata mkopo unapewa kwa yani kwa interest ile hali ya juu, yenye hata ukichukua hiyo mkopo instead hiyo mkopo ikusaidii inakuumiza. Sasa tunaona beta wachana mkopo. Sasa kama serikali inasaidia sisi wafanyakazi wa chini, angalau watuletee ile pesa ya government ile wanazamanga youth funds, at least watupe in low interest ili hata sisi tuinuke.
Na kama wanafanyabiashara, I'm very perturbed because this issue of inflation each and every time, it is really affecting the shilling, and I don't know why each and every day we keep on giving.
Welcome back, Wakili. That is what the public is saying about the businesses. I don't know what you have picked from them that you can comment on.
First, all the respondents are people doing business at what you may call the basic level, at a very, very low level. So my first take is that the problems they are explaining are problems that exist in all levels of the business, from their level to the mega hardware owner in the main street.
Yes.
So although the respondents are people doing business at a very informal level, that is a problem that is everywhere. Now, most of the complaints that they are raising are related to the costs of compliance.
Yeah.
The cost of complying with taking a license. Let's take a license, for example. If a single business permit is, say, 9,000, and the county government is able to get 70% compliance, they're doing very well. But sometimes I say that the county government, all the regulators undercut themselves. If you reduce that license to 7,000 and raise the compliance to 90%, you get more people compliant, more people paying the law, and as well as getting more revenue, because it's also a revenue factor. They have, of course, talked about the very low returns in business. The environment, the money is very little. I think that is the consequence of the economic times that we live in right now. The returns are very, very low. Startup capital is also a problem. That is why you've seen them talk about getting pesa to start the business. That is why we have now things like all these mobile money lending systems, including one that is sponsored by the government.
Actually, and Wakili Kagi, there is one that has caught my attention. Yes. I don't know, Wakili, how you look into this. The one that has talked about the county askaris. Yes. When they are coming to confront some of these businessmen and women who maybe in one way or another, actually, especially the ones who are hawking maybe clothes and so on and so forth, as well as foodstuffs, like tomatoes, potatoes, and so on and so forth. Now, there is a manner in which they handle them, and it has become public, a very, very serious issue. So many Kenyans have actually been annoyed. Some of them would come and actually throw all the foodstuff of those businesses. What exactly is the law clear on how they are supposed actually to be handled, even if maybe there is a way in which maybe they have violated the way they are supposed actually to operate?
What the county enforcement people are doing at that point in time is an attempt to remove perhaps an illegal hawker from a particular place or inbound the goods. There is no excuse in destroying the goods. What you have come to do is to inbound the goods and arrest the person and charge them under the law. Of course, they know that most of the time, most of these offenses, hawking offenses, attract a very low fine. So what they do is that they introduce an element of corruption into it, so that most of those activities, the arakati you see around that scene, is usually geared towards not enforcement, but undercutting the law and getting something out of these hawkers. Which also takes us back to what that lady was talking about, lack of capital to start the business at a formal level. Yes. Because if the business was formalized, licensed, and legal, there is no reason that should happen.
So that basically means, so it is clear that whatever it is they were doing was in an illegal way. And as you've put it, so what is the offense? I mean, what is the penalty for that?
There is a hawking license that may be costing these people 100 shillings a day or a few thousand shillings a month. Due to collusion with the enforcement department, sometimes some people don't pay, or some people outright don't pay. My take on the entire scenario is that it is generally cheaper, whether you are doing a hardware, whether you are doing hawking, whether you are doing any business, it is cheaper to comply than to deal with the consequences of non-compliance. Because the consequences will start from an illegal form of enforcement, your goods being thrown into the street, arrests, and you'll have to pay a fine later over the same offense. So it is generally cheaper across the board, whatever the business, to be compliant with the regulatory authorities, whether it is KRA, the municipal, the county government.
And of course, Kagi, there has been an interesting question where the enforcement law normally take those goods once they have been bound.
It has been a big question all through.
It's been a big question. Maybe just one more, Wakili. Yes. There are also those that are in business, and sometimes they have a concern that maybe they have suffered some losses because in their business environment, maybe because one or two or three measures that has not been put into consideration by either the county government or the national government. How does the law envisage this?
The application of the law in terms of once you locate a shop, I know what you're talking about is a situation where you have a shop, then there is a hawker licensed on your veranda, and then there is a shoe shine licensed after the hawker next to the road. So that basically your space and your customers are blocked, and the environment is not good. That really is a problem of enforcement of the laws, and that is the responsibility of the county government or the town, the municipal where you are. Like if you are in Molo, Gilgil, that would be a municipality. There are people there who are supposed to know where to license people to do temporary businesses, to ensure that the people that are licensed to do business in a shop are not again blockaded by another business that you are licensed as on the roadside.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and so there is an avenue, there is an opportunity for one maybe even to lodge such a complaint maybe in a court of law, and there is a possibility that they can actually get justice. And in this particular case, the county government or the national government, if there was an aspect of compensation, the same would be done?
Yes, it's a matter that can be litigated. The only problem could be that the person who is infringing on your space may be a hawker who comes there in the evening and goes after an hour. So you may have the mechanics of locating these people and that kind of a thing. But if you sued the county authorities, I believe you will have a case.
We've seen some scenarios, Kagi, I think actually in quite a number of counties, even here in Nakuru, where some business permits were actually granted very legally, but at some particular point, Wakili, you just hear that there is some requirement, there is some instructions that actually maybe those businesses, those shops are supposed actually maybe to be brought down. And maybe in one or another, even the people being affected cannot really understand. Yes. And they are actually subjected to suffer.
What happened in that scenario is a scenario that I'm familiar with because I was around town when the shops that were built around the stage here were done and licensed and opened and closed and demolished. All that within about 90 days is that the licensing authorities did not take into account the fact that the owner of the premises had not complied with environmental matters. So when NEMA and the public health people came and they said that these shops have not complied with this, that and that, but then they have a license, so we're demolishing the shop, you can't hang the license in here. So that was the problem. The fact was the person who allowed who gave the occupation license to the owner of those stalls. Okay. He built stalls, they were empty initially, then he came and asked that we need to occupy them. He was licensed to occupy. That person did not take the time to check whether the environment people, the public health people, who actually sit about 25 meters from the person licensing, have approved these premises. That is how that scenario arose. And that's how it arises in many cases in the country and in the county.
Right. And there was one concern that was mentioned there, though it is valid, regarding to you are operating a business, and we know there are many small business people around, but you are not receiving the required benefit from either the national or county government. For example, you're operating a business along this route, but the road is not well kept. I don't know whether there are some legal...
very many years ago, when the Local Government Act was being operationalized in Kenya, in the 70s actually, there was a regulation that everybody takes care of the length, your shop front length. That is no longer the law. It is the duty of the government to make that environment clean. I'm thinking of a scenario where the sewer line passing outside your shop is not operational. Therefore, you are forced to close down.
True.
You can legitimately sue the county government for that because it is their duty. There's a company, there's the Nawasco we have here that has taken over the duty of evacuating all that dirty water to where it is supposed to go. It is not something that is not capable of going to court. It can go to court. The problem we have with roads, especially the condition of roads and the environment around roads, road signage and those kind of things, I have had occasion to sue on behalf of business people, on behalf of our community, about the road and the condition of our road. The answer the ministry gave was that the road has been budgeted for, a contractor identified, we are awaiting for funds. You see that?
Yeah.
So some of those things are difficult to enforce, but they are matters that somebody could take to court.
But it's good to raise concern, because if you don't raise concern, then you are going to live in a pathetic condition forever.
Yes. Actually, in that particular case I'm talking about, the government complied within 3 years and created a shoulder of the road that was not existing.
Yeah.
Because people were being dropped right on the road. So the government said, we'll do it this year, next year, third, all the fourth year there, it was done.
Sometimes you feel for the matatu operators, because they are in business, and they pay a lot of money to the county government, but maybe the place they are operating in, what they call the stage, the matatu stage, is very pathetic. And sometimes, because they are paying those taxes, I believe by law they're supposed to be taken care of, be given a conducive environment for operating their matatu business, and even for people who are coming to commute there.
The informal nature of matatu as a business was itself a business. That chaos was profitable to particular individuals.
Yes.
And even the chaos you see in the matatu sector is organized chaos that is benefiting somebody. The county governments and the municipalities could of course benefit more if they had space. But you see, if you look at say Nakuru, they could want to accommodate all the thousands of matatus that pass by, originate and terminate in Nakuru. But where is the space? Where do you put them? So that informality and that chaos is maintained at some level as a business for some people who operate at the stage, and as a desperate measure by the county government, because they don't have space. If you go to every town, from Narok to Nairobi to Kisii to Nakuru, you'll be told that those 10 buildings you see there are standing on what was supposed to be the stage. So at some point we acted in breach of the planning laws and they created a very small stage for a population of 200,000 people in Nakuru, when we are now 1 million. that is what is coming back to affect the population.
And what Wakili is saying, Kagi, now that reminds me, like now what we've seen, the standoff between I think some section of the matatu operators in Nakuru and the former regime, and I don't know maybe even how things are actually going to turn out when the new bus stage will actually be complete. And Wakili, on that note, when the matatu operators are actually asked to shift to go maybe to another location and be in a position to continue with their businesses, and they want to dispute that, and even maybe look at it also as a matter of law and take it to court, does it really stand?
Reasonableness is what the court will be looking at. Is it reasonable is it in good order, is it in public interest to close this stage and take it to the other side?
Yes.
The ecosystem in the matatu sector is such that whenever they land, whenever they operate for about a year, it creates utter interests around it, hawking, small shops and all manner of things that get interested and get licenses around that location. When that location moves, there is of course going to be a lot of resistance. But then it is not something that cannot be litigated. They can say it is unfair for us to take us to that side. But if the court finds that the regulation is reasonable, the proposition to move the stage is in public interest, the stage will be moved.
There's no shortcut.
Yes.
All right, away from that, now we can look at, I know there are many businesses in Kenya, and we would like maybe on behalf of the viewers, we want to know the categories of the business structure in Kenya. Maybe if you could let us know.
You see, we have talked to people in business right here, from the informal to the business people that are doing the kiosk owners. There's a friend who once asked me whether a kiosk is an economic activity. And I told him, since it feeds a family and perhaps pays rent, let's take it that it is an economic activity. But the nature of businesses, if you stood anywhere in any street, you'll be able to answer that question very easily. There are people operating as individual business people, perhaps with a registered business name. There are people operating as companies. That is the highest level of it. There are people operating as partnerships that are registered. All those are registrable regimes of business. Then there is something that is generally unknown. Not really unknown, but it's out of the public view. There are many trusts, companies by guarantee trusts, that are doing business for a particular purpose and a benefit that they are hidden from public view, but they can also be considered as a business. So basically, for Mwananchi, the first thing to think about is that as an individual, I'm doing business, I can register it as an individual, I can get a business name for it and register it as an individual. If I have my friend across the hill I want to do the business with, I can also register partnership. If we have the wherewithal or the money, we can also register it as a company and start it even at a low level and utilize the company law. The law that regulates companies.
Okay.
So basically, in terms of legitimate business, those are the formations you will find. Yes.
And maybe the big difference between the partnership and company?
Partnerships are basically a form of agreement between parties that are doing a particular business together, with an agreement on, first of all, input, that is capitation of the business. Second, the income of the business and sharing the costs, and other matters that relate to the business. A company is an individual in its own. It is independent of the owners. It is, once registered, it can be sued as a company without involving the directors. Or you can sue the directors when the company has lost its status.
Someone might be asking, you sue the company, not the directors.
You sue the company as a company because a company in Kenya is an individual. It can have a certificate, a personal identification number. It pays taxes in the name of the company. It does, or they can own property in the name of the company, and so it can be sued.
And how can partnership legalize the operations?
A partnership is usually registered. Registered under the same system as registering a business. You reserve the name. You register it in the business registry as a partnership.
But if you want
to register the deed, a partnership deed.
If there's a law issue, illegal issue, can I sue now the partnership, individuals?
In partnerships, you sue the partners. You sue A and B operating as Vanessa Butchery at such and such a corner.
Okay.
Yes.
Before you continue, we can take a breather by looking at the legal terminology. Here, Wakili, we have a specific legal terminology that we enlighten our public on. You can be able to listen to it and then you can give your comment about it. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and of course, we have our legal terminology for today, if our director can actually give us on the screen. And that is the term actors reus actus reus is a Latin phrase. Kage, I know some pronunciation of this Latin name sometimes.
Yeah, I'm really scared.
Tricky. But it means the guilty act, the action or conduct of an individual, which is an essential element of crime. The guilty act, the action or conduct of an individual, which is an essential element of crime. That is what we mean by actus reus. Wakili, help us even understand.
Ni kusudio, alisudia kufanya hilo jambo.
Oh.
Ni kusema kwamba alikuwa na kusudio, alikuwa anasudia
kufanya
hilo jambo. Yes. So that we bring it back home here and forget the Latin.
Yes.
Ni kukusudia kufanya hilo jambo.
So nikikusudia
yes.
Kwa hivyo unaweza kufanya hatia bila kukusudia.
Unaenda unasema ulichukua ile mali ukitarajia ukijua kwamba ni ya mwingine na ukiwa na nia kwamba unaenda nayo na utamunyima yeye mwenyewe utumishi wale ile mali.
Yes. Na sasa sheria inaangalia hiyo tofauti na mwenye hakuwa amekusudia.
Yes. When the ODPP, the people who draft the judge sheet, draft the charge, they must indicate that this person did this with the intent to defraud, with the intent to deprive the owner of the use of that article. So when they are writing that, they are saying that you added the actus reus. We in modern Kenya have tried to move away from that, and they use terminology that is
more lighter,
not lighter, that is understandable by the people that we serve. Yes.
Okay.
So the factors, the basic factors, evidential factors that one can actually maybe produce in a court of law to show that one had an intention of committing that crime.
Yes.
Okay.
And someone who had no intention, can he be released by court?
Now it depends on the nature of the offense. Let's begin at the very top. If you had no intention of committing murder, and the people always forget that, they always think that homicide, that is killing a person, is always murder. Murder is a very specific thing in law. So if you do not intend to kill this person and the death is accidental, then you can be, the offense can be reduced to manslaughter, and the punishment will be lighter, even an acquittal. So it depends on the crime. If the death occurred out of the use of a motor vehicle, you'll be charged with causing death by dangerous driving. Simple. And there is a punishment prescribed for that. But then if you used a motor vehicle and followed up, like you saw that clip on television, where after some differences, a man followed the wife and ran over her on the lawn. That was in America. That is murder. You are intending to kill that person.
What about this? Okay, sorry. Maybe what about this scenario? I'm in my house, someone breaks in, and then I am in a very heavy fight with them, and I manage to knock down one of them and I kill him.
Yes. If you kill an intruder in the protection of family and property, it may be excusable homicide. But it also depends on what circumstances you are faced with. If you find somebody walking up your staircase with a sharpened banker and you are hiding in the shadows, and to disable him, you assaulted him, that could be excusable. It depends on the circumstances. The one that people misunderstand most is, and this has happened here in Nakuru, is you have a small house with these metal grills. then you hear some people are cutting through the grills, they might get into you. Then you get a wire and connect it to the grill. Because of the electric current, that person gets electrocuted. You see that?
Yeah.
That one now you may be charged with an offense under the Electric Power Act.
Kenya Power will come for you.
No, not Kenya Power. It is a criminal offense. Now, I don't know. You'll have to explain your apprehension and the preparation you had. Most people say you just rush there, cut off the wire for the iron box, and connect it to the window, and the person is electrocuted out there.
So it's not a self-defense.
The court will deal with the facts.
Okay, very well. And also in the program, Wakili.
Kagi, maybe before, there was still a question on partnership. And I wanted to ask Wakili, sometimes when it comes to businesses that are majored on partnership, sometimes they have challenges at some particular point. Maybe the partners want maybe to collapse, or maybe now they want to go separate ways. What is the state of the law in terms of maybe even how maybe they are supposed maybe to collapse the partnership, or maybe where one now feels they don't want to continue with this
partnership?
Yes.
The best premise to begin with is the partnership agreement. Most partnership agreements, if well drafted, will have a self-regulating provision in the Partnership Act itself on how it will be dissolved.
So it should be clear at the start.
Yeah, sometimes it is clear.
Wow.
But if it is not clear and it has to be dissolved by means of arbitration or through the court system, it is possible to seek orders of dissolution of the partnership from the court. At that stage, the differences could
One of the partners can do that.
Yes.
Not necessarily both of
At that stage, the difference could be about sharing of the partnership assets.
Right.
So the court will not really be dissolving the partnership. The court and even the arbitrator, if you went to arbitration, will be dealing with what do we do with your bank account, what do we do with your assets, if your partnership agreement does not regulate that already as a provision in the act, in the agreement.
And that can also even encompass in terms of maybe sometimes we hear of maybe this particular partner having this amount of shares, this other partner having this amount of shares.
The shareholding is a matter of agreement. That's why I say that the partnership is a product of an agreement. That agreement shall say that this is my premise. The partnership that we have most of the time, like in Nakuru here, is that I have a restaurant, a bar and restaurant. It's operating. I don't have money for stock. I invite you in. So I take 60% because I provided the premises and what have you, and you provide money for the stock, and you take that percentage of profit. So in that kind of a scenario, it will depend on what these people have agreed. Yeah.
Right. Wakili, we have what we call the inside law, and today we have a very short feature regarding to what we call the World Trade Organization, just to understand how it operates, as Kenya has ratified to that kind of organization. So at this juncture, we want to watch this short feature on the World Trade Organization. The World Trade Organization, WTO, is the only global international organization dealing with the rules of trade between nations. At its heart are the WTO agreements negotiated and signed by the bulk of the world's trading nations and ratified in their parliaments. The goal is to ensure that trade flows as smoothly, predictably, and freely as possible. What is WTO? The WTO has many roles. It operates a global system of trade rules. It acts as a forum for negotiating trade agreements. It settles trade disputes between its members, and it supports the needs of developing countries. All major decisions are made by the WTO's member governments, either by the ministers, who usually meet at least every 2 years, or by their ambassadors or delegates who meet regularly in Geneva. A number of simple fundamental principles form the foundation of the multilateral trading system. The primary purpose of the WTO is to open trade for the benefit of all. The WTO's top decision-making body is the Ministerial Conference, which usually takes place every 2 years. The General Council is a top day-to-day decision-making body. It meets a number of times a year in Geneva. And who are the members? The WTO has over 160 members representing 98% of the world trade. Over 20 countries are seeking to join the WTO. To join the WTO, a government has to bring its economic and trade policies in line with WTO rules and negotiate in terms of entry with the members. It has approximately 650 staff on its regular budget. The WTO derives most of the income from its annual budget from contributions by its members. These contributions are based on the formula that takes into account each member's share of international trade. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala is the 7th Director General of the WTO. She took office on the 1st March 2021, becoming the first woman and the first African to serve as Director General. Her term of office will expire on 31st August 2025.
Accéder le premier après 8 ans. Donc félicitations à vous, félicitations à tout le monde. We are off to an auspicious start with this successful conclusion of the mandate of the Working Party on Comoros' accession to the WTO. What an amazing journey.
All right, Wakili, I hope you have followed that. Maybe in a nutshell, and talk about the World Trade Organization. It's not been very vocal in Kenya, but what's your take on it?
The World Trade Organization was a reaction to a problem that arose in the world, especially in the movement of goods, services, and especially essential goods. So the WTO operates to ensure that there is free flow of goods that the world requires for its economies to operate. The essential goods I think of is things like oil, things like pharmaceuticals, and that kind of thing that if denied a particular country will bring extraordinary hardship. So that is the first thing that it was created to regulate. Then as a membership, in the protocols you agree on a taxation regime that does not punish the movement of goods from the mass producers, like those who sell oil and pharmaceuticals to the consuming countries. Then the other area that they were very essential on was on essential drugs, especially vaccines. You could imagine a situation where we have a firearm attack in Kenya, and there is a virus running through domestic animals, and the vaccine is found in Japan. And Japan says Kenya is not our friend, we're not selling to Kenya. Yeah. So it was supposed to regulate those kind of impediments to business worldwide.
Okay. So I think, Mangicho, is good to mention that when it comes the issue of maybe World Trade Organization, it is very key in terms of ensuring that the world trade is going on very well. Can you imagine, Mangicho, whereby one country becomes unfair to the other country in terms of maybe not being fair to the other country? Yeah.
I think that it's a very, very important area. And actually, it is very, very important that you've actually brought that particular aspect of the World Trade Organization, because, Kagi, as you've put it, and I think even maybe this is something that we can actually even discuss at length, because we know maybe Wakili will maybe even later on maybe even help us to understand what are some of the issues pertaining maybe to international laws, maybe even as far as business is concerned, to just maybe even compare them and maybe what really one needs to know when maybe now they want maybe now to operate in business now at those international levels.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, maybe to finalize on WTO.
It is one aspect of international organizations that have been domesticated and that we are members of, and that the benefit are for the free flow of goods and services, and especially essential goods. There are many, many, many that operate in Kenya, from the Nagoya Protocol to on the movement of protection of species. You cannot move an animal from Lake Nakuru to India without going through some regulations. So it is it's an area that is we have many treaties that we can form a discussion at another time. Treaties and how we domesticate them and how they become our laws and how to obey those laws, because once the white WTO regulations are affecting the importation of a car from Japan, your duties and that kind of a thing.
Okay.
So,
I think it has also helped the world to be able to become manageable.
Yes.
We imagine if we don't have an organization like WTO, how chaotic will be the global trade.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. I believe also, Mangicho, we have the director. The legal terminology?
Yeah, the legal profile.
No, the profile.
Yeah, the legal profile. Yes, we have the legal profile for today. Of course, you know, we always bring you this particular segment, the legal profile, and today we are focusing on Justice Retired Jackton Boma Ojwang. Justice Retired Jackton Boma Ojwang. And just to see, of course, you can see on your screen some of the key highlights about Justice Retired Jackton Ojwang. Born 1950 in Migori County, 1974, obtained Bachelor's of Law degree from the University of Nairobi. Then in 1976, obtained Master's degree from the University of Nairobi. 1981, he earned his PhD degree in Comparative Constitutional Law from Downing College. And of course, 2000 to 2003, he was a lecturer and dean, School of Law, University of Nairobi. And of course, again, he was, at the same period, he was also a visiting associate professor of law at the J. Reuben Clark Law in Brigham Young University. Then in 1983, Justice Retired Jackton Boma Ojwang was admitted as an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. Then in 2003, he joined the judiciary of Kenya, serving as High Court judge in Nairobi and Mombasa. Come 2012, he was among 5 justices nominated to the Supreme Court of Kenya by the Judicial Service Commission, and that, of course, was in the year 2012, where he was among the 5 justices nominated to the Supreme Court of Kenya by the Judicial Service Commission. And of course, in 2013, he was also among the 6 judges that dismissed the presidential petition that was lodged by the then called presidential flag bearer Raila Odinga. 2017, he was also alongside Justice Njoki Njoki Ndungu. And the duo rendered a dissenting opinion in the presidential election petition. They differed with the other five judges. Then in 2020, Justice retired Jackton Bomojang retired from the Supreme Court of Kenya. That is Justice retired Jackton Boma or Juang. Akili, yes. What's your take on Justice retired Jackton Boma or Juang? What can you maybe remember him for?
In 1987, when he came to teach us, the first class that he attended, he stood out as a man that you must take very, very seriously, because his first statement was that you have a right as a university student to take some knowledge from this university home, and I'm going to give you some knowledge. Yes. Then he told us that he's going to teach us, he's going to train us to speak with propriety and exactness. And I think he did. Most of my classmates are not people that are very speak too many words. So he said that you must be able to speak with propriety and exactness, and we are trying to. He was a very, very deep legal scholar, and very, very serious about his assignments, whether at the university, in the courtrooms, and everywhere.
And of course, in 2017, like we've highlighted, together with the Justice Njoki Ndungu, they gave a dissenting opinion. Yes, they gave a dissenting opinion in the Raila 2 petition, as we call it in the legal circles. Yes. It's a dissent that was written in very strident terms. That was the only thing that I could think about it. I did not agree with the dissent, but then he wrote a dissent that was written in his usual language, strident terms and...
Wow. Okay, that's well. I think we have like 2 minutes to end the program.
Yes.
Yeah, I know, Kagi, maybe the areas that we've not tackled, like maybe we'll have another time. Maybe Wakili will help us now to look at maybe the different taxes as far as business is concerned. And I think this one maybe will also come at a time when
even registering a business name, such kind of things, taxes and registering business name.
And also maybe the main offenses, maybe we can get into the details. And the punitive measures when maybe one actually maybe commits an offense in relation maybe to a particular business action.
Correct. I think now, Wakili, we want to give you maybe 1 minute to be able to sum up what we have talked about in terms of business operations in Kenya in a minute.
Thank you. I think what I could take home from the interaction today is that it is important, first of all, to be compliant as a person that is starting a business. Of course, having done your background and gotten your capital together, you don't want to waste it. Comply with the regulations of the county government, the registration, NEMA, and all the regulations that are required. My summary is, and my take-home is, it is cheaper to comply than to complain while you are in the dock in court.
I love that. Just remember, in the Vox Pops, the Kenyans that were interviewed by Vincent Kimtai, there was one there complaining about the process of actually even obtaining some of these essential. And maybe even the time that it takes. Would one actually feel violated that the process
of obtaining the paperwork? No, the business environment in Kenya, in my experience right now, is very well structured, especially registration of business. If you go to the PRS these days, you can get your name registered within a week, a company within the same time. The timelines are shorter. And the county governments are chasing every coin. If you appeared there that you want to pay for a license, they will take your money within 10 seconds.
Yeah, we can stop there because our time is just gone. We want to thank you for coming to MBCI TV, the Legal Tuesday.
Thank you.
May you have a blessed day.
Thank you for having us here.
Right. We want to thank you, dear viewer, also for finding time to follow our program today, the Legal Tuesday, 23rd day of January 2024. My name is Paul Kagi. Have a blessed day ahead.
And my name is Mangicho Mwala. Of course, we'll be here again tomorrow with Paul Kagi on Leadership Wednesday. Until then, enjoy the rest of your viewing and have a blessed afternoon.